Hi there, good afternoon, good morning, and good evening, depending on where you are in the world. I'm Tahitia McCabe, and we're here as part of the Genealogy Researching Your Family Tree MOOC, and I'm going to talk just a little bit about the other genealogical studies and learning that can happen through the University of Strathclyde, but I'll also touch on a few other providers as well. So thanks very much for being here, and if you have any questions, then my email will be on the last slide of this, along with the web address for our webpage, because there's lots of stuff up on that. So just looking at a basic overview of what we have to offer, we do a variety of different pathways, I suppose, starting from beginner to intermediate, so 8-week courses. And these are online, but if you happen to be in the Glasgow area, we do offer a number of these on campus as well. So you can come along and sit in a classroom environment and learn with us. Then moving on from the beginner to intermediate 8-week courses, then we offer the postgraduate program. And I'll talk intensively about that during this session right now. And all of the postgraduate program is online, so you can take that no matter where you are in the world. But firstly, I want to focus on the beginner to intermediate 8-week courses and the learning materials that we have for people who don't quite want to go on to postgraduate work. So those courses start 3 times a year, October, January, and April. The next start date for those is the 14th of January, and we have a variety of different topics that are available. So there's an intro class, a using technology course, beyond the basics. So for folks who've gone a bit beyond birth, marriage, and death records and census records, we'll get into other types of records like wills, military records, things like that. And then we have 2 courses which focus heavily on genetic genealogy. The intro one looks more at, I suppose, all of the different types of tests, with more of a focus on what you can do with Y DNA and the male line testing. And then we have an intro to autosomal DNA testing, which focuses on that autosomal test that men and women can take. A lot of these courses have a Scottish focus, like the Intro to Family History Research and Beyond the Basics, but they do have a wider UK focus as well. So we cover England and Ireland as well. And those courses you can take for credit or not for credit, entirely up to you how you choose to do that. Taking those courses for credit means you need to complete the assessments, and you'll receive feedback on the assessments from the tutors and get the credit or not. So the entry requirements for those courses, there's really no entry requirements for any of them, but it really helps if you're familiar with using the internet, because they are all online courses. And we find that students really need to have a reasonably strong internet connection in order to access the course materials, which the course materials are released once a week. You can access those at any point throughout the week that you want to, and indeed throughout the course, so they're not cut off after 1 week is gone. There's no real-time sessions with those that are mandatory, although the tutors typically do run 1 or 2 online chat sessions with those, but those are optional and they're usually recorded so that students can watch them later. The cost for each of the courses, for the 8-week courses for this current academic year, is £175. And with that, if you do the assessments, you'll receive 10 credits, and that's at first year level for an undergraduate course. And if you take 30 of those credits, you'll receive what's called an Open Studies certificate, which represents that you've done 30 credits at that level. So our website has a lot more information about the particular courses themselves. You can register online, and you can contact us if you have further questions about those. But they're great courses. We've had people from around the world take them, and we receive good feedback for them. So there are those courses that we offer, but there are courses that are available through other providers. If you're interested in doing non-postgraduate learning, then a company called Pharos, that's Pharos, does a good range of United Kingdom-based courses. And I have known a number of people take courses through them, but have a look elsewhere as well. The Family Search Wiki has some free courses that you can take. They're not real time. They're sort of canned, I suppose, if you want to use that term. And you don't receive feedback, but they step you through the individual materials on a step-by-step basis, and they're really quite useful. So I'd recommend those as well, and those are free. So moving to our postgraduate program, so this really what our focus is providing a thorough grounding in, as the slide says, the theory and practice of genealogical research. Our aim is to get people out the other side of the first level and the second level, with students having a real depth and breadth of experience and knowledge in working with research and records from the United Kingdom, and that is, we're broadly balanced between Scotland and England. We bring in Ireland, and then in the second level, the postgraduate diploma level, we extend out beyond the United Kingdom and look at records from places like Australia, New Zealand, US, Canada, the British Empire, and different time periods as well. So moving back beyond sort of 1700 into earlier records too. So, and really what we're focusing on is getting students to have a level of expertise and comfort in searching for, recording, and then communicating and presenting results in a variety of different ways. So both through using software, but also through the written word and writing client reports and communicating results in different ways. So yeah, so the certificate, as I've said, focuses largely on UK records and research, and then the diploma goes out beyond. Plus, on the second level, the diploma level, you start having a bit of choice about area and time period that you want to focus on. On that level, there's a small research project. It's 5,000 words, and the student can choose that topic. And then if you're interested in doing the full MSc, then the dissertation, which is 12,000 to 16,000 words, is a topic that's chosen by the student, and we provide quite a bit of support to the student in choosing what that is. And that's a really more focused academic research project in which you find a question to answer. So it's not just searching someone's family tree and presenting the results. It's doing things like asking questions about how useful a particular set of records are for a genealogist, and then using those records to perhaps create some, to pull together some demographic information, present the results, and have your rewritten material. We've also had students do things like assess genetic genealogy tests and how useful they are, and the advancements that have gone on with those tests in the last couple of years. So it's quite a broad spread of different topics that people undertake. So looking at the particular steps on the postgraduate program, now part of the complexity with this is that there are different ways that you can access the full MSc program. You can do it in a modular fashion, and in that way you take the levels, the certificate and the diploma, which are the first 2/3 of the full MSc, in individual modules, and that we find is taking students about 14 hours a week. So the first level you take over 2 years, and then the diploma level again is over 2 years. So, and then the MSc dissertation takes a year. Or you can do it what we're calling part-time, and that's done a year for each level. So that would be 3 years. So there are different ways to go about accessing the program, depending on how much time you have in your life. One of the nice things about the modular program is you pay per module. So if you need a bit more flexibility for financial reasons, that's a good one to choose. Also, if you're working full time or have caring that you're doing, the modular might be a better option. But if you're wanting to get it done sooner, then 1 year is certainly doable. 1 year for each level is certainly doable. So most people do need to begin at the first level, which is the postgraduate certificate. Some people can direct entry to the second level, but that really requires you to have a first level equivalent, and those can be things like having an undergraduate degree from Brigham Young University in family history, if you've taken particular courses as part of that family history degree, and you have an extra add-on, like having completed the Boston University certificate or having done a more in-depth research institute experience. Or if you have the postgraduate certificate through the University of Dundee and have taken particular options, we can consider that. Or if you've taken the higher certificate through the IHGS, the Institute of Heraldic and Genealogical Studies, which is based in Canterbury. But it really needs a first level equivalent taken at a postgraduate degree level, or as I say, with the undergraduate level with additional add-on. So most people have to begin with the first level. So the other choice that you might be interested in is doing it full time, and full time means that you're taking all three of the levels in 18 months, and this is the third year at the moment that students have been doing the program full time. And we're changing it to an 18-month program away from an 11-month program for the coming academic year, because we received a lot of student feedback and tutor feedback that having a slightly longer time period would help just retain information and have a better experience overall. So you still get out in 18 months, so it's quicker, obviously, than the part-time version. Now, most of these will be able to have student loans accessible through them, but what you'll need to do is contact your student loan provider wherever you might be, and talk to them about what's available. So. Okay, so looking at how we go about teaching and the learning of this, as I said, the program's delivered entirely online. It's also delivered for the part-time and the modular versions entirely at times that suit yourself. There's no time where we say you must be online to take part in a lecture or that type of thing. There are a few real-time chat sessions that we offer to students, but they're optional. And again, we record those and make those available for students who weren't able to take part. That's the case for every variation aside from the full-time MSc. If you're doing it on the full-time, the real-time chat sessions are mandatory and form part of the assessment process. So the teaching materials include written lectures, multimedia presentations, and those range from 5 minutes up to half an hour, depending on what level you're on. And really those we're focusing on how to use a particular website, or how to deal with unpicking a Latin sentence. So just kind of focused points that we find students have had difficulty with. There's also discussion forums on the virtual learning environment, which we pose questions on, and we get students to answer those. Students also ask questions of us. I don't understand this particular point. Can you help me out? And there's a lot of good back and forth between students on the forums as well. And then, as I said, we do have the real-time chat sessions, which are optional aside from the full-time students. So, and those are good fun too. Those we again we'll do things like focus on copyright, what particular aspects around copyright for genealogists. What else do we do? do kind of show and tells using databases that are looking for article journals, and that helps students to get ready to do the research projects and find materials for the research projects. Look at communicating with clients, and most of our tutors are professionals, and they work with clients all the time. So we as well as having students work individually with the tutors, we also ask our tutors to come in and do these online sessions and provide their expertise to a larger group. So and the tutors do provide feedback and support. So each tutor is assigned a certain number of students, and the tutor does the marking for that student and is available through email contact and also through the online forum. So most of the tutors have been through the program before, so we really understand the pressures of being a student in an online environment, which can be quite challenging, sometimes can feel quite isolated. But what we found is that students, if you're having a particular issue, then it's more than likely that other students will be having the same type of question or query or issue, and just putting a query out on a forum often gets a lot of support from other students and tutors as well. So, and you can always email your tutor if you're needing specific support. So. The lovely thing I think about, well, one of the lovely things about our program is that there aren't any exams on the program. Since we're in exam mode right now at the university more broadly, I can see the stress on everyone's faces. But the thing is, our assessment is largely practical in nature. So we get you to go out and research a particular family, tell us what you find, and then we assess you based on, right, they found what it is that we were asking them to look for, and they presented it well, so you get marks based on that. And moving into the last 2/3 of the program, so that would be the diploma and the MSc dissertation levels, you start moving into doing academic research projects, as I've said, which bring in different types of skills beyond the purely practical nature, using databases and assessing the records that you found, and is this actually the right person or not, and have I referenced this correctly, those types of things. So get into academic writing procedures and sort of broader issues around academia and doing research. So I wanted to give you a kind of a snapshot of what one of the virtual learning environment pages looked like. So this is from the diploma level of the course, so the second third of the course. And this is a section that's looking particularly at Irish records. And you can see the screen's not particularly fancy, but there are some links there for the topic notes, which is a written piece of text that we put together. And then we record those, so you can listen to the audio if you like. Listen to the lecture while you're doing the dishes or driving in the car or on the train, whatever. Those notes tend to have small learning exercises in them where we get you to go off and look at different databases or answer small questions. We also try to provide a long list of online sources that we found useful, also all additional learning reading materials as part of the notes and lectures. You can see there's also links to the certificate level Irish records. That's because we have a basic introduction to Irish records on the first third of the program, and then in the second third we broaden that out and look at different types of records. So, and then this is an example of one of the multimedia presentations that we've had an outside expert create for us, a gentleman called Chris Payton, who is a brilliant researcher, and he's one of our alums. And very generous with his time and expertise. And he's done sort of a half an hour case study for us using different records and walking the students through how to go about using those records and creating a house history for, I think it's his wife's, one of his wife's ancestors in a house that they owned in Ireland. So So, quite a few of the pages look like that. Some have multimedia presentations and some don't. So what you're going to need in the way of IT requirements, well, you'll need access to a reliable computer. The course is based on PCs, so we offer support to people who are using Windows PC based computers. But having said that, we have a number of students on the course every year who use Apple Mac computers, and as long as they're PC compatible, i.e. you can produce Word documents that you can save and allow the tutors to open in their PC computers, and folks can do that quite easily. We're fine with that. Part of that is the genealogical software that we suggest that you use as part of the course is Family Tree Maker. That's the course standard, and we've written a series of step-by-step guides for Family Tree Maker. That's also based on the Windows format, and again, that is also available in Mac. Again, we have students using the Mac version. There are some differences, but all of the tutors now know about the differences, so we can take that into account. It's just not quite as I suppose sort of seamless and straightforward if you're using Mac, but students have been using it quite successfully for years and years and years. So. And you also need a good internet connection. You're going to be doing a lot of searching on databases, and if you want to take part in the real-time chat sessions, then a good internet connection is necessary to support those. You will need to run applications such as Adobe Reader, a media player to play the multimedia presentations. Again, these things are pretty standard. And the application that we use for our real-time chat sessions is called Adobe Connect, and we have a subscription to that we invite the students to join those sessions, so you don't have to have a subscription to Adobe Connect. So again, that's never been a problem. So you will also need to subscribe to certain online databases as part of the program. Ancestry, the worldwide edition, is basically mandatory. Many of the assignments and assessments, we assume that you have that. So that's necessary. Thankfully, we've been able to arrange for, since the course began, a number of credits for Scotland's People that are offered to the postgraduate certificate students. So those students who are starting out on the first level, and those are available for a year or 2 years, depending on whether you're doing the 1-year version or the modular version. So you get a number of credits for those. We also suggest that students strongly consider getting the British, I think it's the British, for Find My Past. I can't remember the exact, they've recently changed their subscription levels and how they're called. I think it used to be the British one, but they've now changed it. I can't remember what it is. It's not the worldwide one. You don't need all of the worldwide ones on Find My Past. And indeed, that's not, Find My Past isn't mandatory at all. It's just for certain things like newspaper records in particular, it can be helpful to have that. So, and some parish records as well for the UK. Again, it can be helpful, but it's not mandatory. So, yeah, and a number of the assessments require you to use genealogical software. So it's helpful if you have used this already. We find students are normally more comfortable starting out, but again, we have students who start the course who've never used genealogical software, and you get your hands dirty with it very early on, and you soon find yourself being quite comfortable and expert using it. So. Okay, so considering entry requirements for coming on the postgraduate course, usually we do require a degree, like an undergraduate degree. We don't care what subject that's in. Really, it's evidence of study skills for us. But if you don't have an undergraduate degree, don't worry. We are happy to consider non-standard educational professional qualifications. Basically, what we're looking for is that you'll be comfortable doing a postgraduate level course. Do you have the ability to work to a deadline? Do you have, I suppose, the requisite study skills and comfort at working at a graduate level? So some of the things that I've looked at with people is training through work. Many people have done extensive training through work, and I've been happy to consider that and take that. So, if you've got a question about this and you think, well, maybe I wouldn't be able to apply, contact us and just email us and say, I'm interested, but I don't have an undergraduate degree, but here's what I've done with my life, and very happy to have a conversation about that. We really look for some experience in genealogical research, and particularly with the United Kingdom. But it's you don't have to have done it for years. If you've done some on your family tree or other people's family trees, going through this course and having worked on things is a good starting point. We'll I'll look for a range of sources used and whether or not you're comfortable in communicating results. But again, you don't have to be an expert by any stretch of the imagination to come onto the course. We're here to help you learn how to become comfortable with research and communicating results. So again, just get in touch if you've got questions about that. So. Okay, looking at fees for the postgraduate course. Now, this is kind of a complex slide because we're in the midst of this current academic year, and we do have three entry dates coming up for the current year. We'll take folks onto the modular versions. So January and April intakes for the postgraduate certificate. So those are 6 modules in all, and those for the fees for this year are £570 per module. If you're already have an equivalent of the postgraduate certificate or you've done it through us before, then you can come in and do the diploma. There's 3 modules on the diploma, and this year they're just over £1,000. So going into next year, you can see that we've increased our fees a little bit, and that typically happens every year. The fees increase to a certain amount and try to keep them to the minimum that's allowed. So if you're doing it in the part-time version, so the 3 years, the first, second, and third years, the first and second years are £3,250 per year, and then the MSc dissertation year is less, just over £2,000. And you can see the modular fees there. And again, you take 3 modules per year on the PG Cert, and depending on when you start on the diploma, if you're either starting in October or March, you would take 1 or 2 modules a year. And with the modular version, you can take time out as well. So like if you needed a term off, you could certainly do that. So, and then if you wanted to do the full-time version, that basically wraps up all 3 of the part-time years into one lump. So basically just add those 3 fees together and you get the £8,700 for the full-time course. We don't charge differently for international overseas students, so pay the same as UK or EU students. So, and I consider how much I paid for my master's degree in the States. £8,700 seems that's actually not. I mean, it's a lot of money, but it's better than the $30,000 I spent on my master's degree 16 years ago. So, but that's fees in the United States for you. So, so if you've got questions about the course, when things happen, timetables, getting on the course, how the course runs, there's lots of information on our website. We've got frequently asked questions documents, timetables, some of those things I need to update a little bit but so the slightly older versions are up at the moment, but I'm going to try to get those updated before the new year. But again, contact us, and we'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have. So So I'm just going to see if anybody has any questions at the moment, and see if anything's come up. I have some previous questions that people have asked. Yeah. Yes, people have asked whether things are focusing on Scottish rather than English sources. And as I say, on the first level, the postgraduate certificate level, it is fairly broadly balanced between Scotland and England, because you never really know where your clients are going to take you, and I suppose where your family is going to take you as well. So we think it's useful to know both major countries. So Martin is curious about whether the research on the postgraduate course can be looking at his own family, and not on the postgraduate certificate. So that we definitely assign you the families to look at, because we need to know what it is that you should be finding. But on the second 2/3, if there's something with your family that can be brought into the assignments and the research projects that you have your own choice over, then sure, we have students do that all the time, particularly on the area and the building study. There's a migration study that we have students look at, and we've had people use their own families as a starting board, and then go off and do broader surveys. So yeah, that's certainly possible on certain levels. So Steph M is curious about which of the 8-week courses from Strathclyde would I recommend as a follow-on, or is it just a matter of preference? Well, it is really a matter of preference. I would say if you're interested in learning more about genetic genealogy, then you could consider either doing the Intro to Autosomal course or the other course, depending on if you're more curious about the male testing or the autosomal testing. But if you're curious about other courses, I would suggest taking the Intro to Family History course, because it's a real good grounding in Scotland and English records, and how to use those, both civil, church, geographic, that's the word I'm looking for, sources, as well as military. We touch on Ireland as well. We have a session on Ireland in that course. And I've had students take that course who've done genealogy for years and years and years, and say, oh, I wasn't sure about taking this course, and I think I'm probably going to know quite a bit that you're going to tell us. And at the end of the course, they've always said, well, I did know a fair chunk, but now what I understand is kind of the history of why those sources were taken. If I'm having trouble finding people, then other ideas about where to go to sort of work through some of those challenges. And they have just been exposed to such a wide range of different resources and different websites and places to go that people so far, thankful, of course, they're telling me good things, but they have appreciated taking that intro course. So even if you think that you're not a total beginner, you might consider that course. So that's the one that I would probably start with if you're looking for more of a standard, getting your teeth into using British records. So. Jack is curious about whether another course will be run if one doesn't join the one that's scheduled. And yes, really, our courses run if we have enough people signed up for them. So that, we have a certain number of students that we need to be on the cohorts in order to make it viable as a learning experience, a good learning experience for the students, but also for ourselves, so that we're not losing money, quite frankly. But so far, we've never had a problem filling the cohorts on the postgraduate program. On the 8-week courses, occasionally some of those won't run because we won't have attracted enough students. But then in the next term, we try to run those. again. So, and if folks are interested in coming back and doing the genealogy researching your family tree course again, we're going to be running that in January. Again, it's going to start up again. I think it's 21st of January, so you can retake the course again. I say probably not much will change, although what will be different on the course for the January term is that one of the weeks I will be over in the States taking part in a genealogy event called Roots Tech. And what I do when the course is running, if I'm at Roots Tech, is I do a sort of a day by day, here's strange things that I've learned this day at Roots Tech. We'll upload some photos and talk about the people that I've met on the day and different developments that have happened in the genealogy world that I've picked up on through being at Roots Tech. That's Roots Tech this year is at the end of February. So I think it'll probably be about week 4 or week 5 of the course that happens on. So, and that's always really fun, being able to communicate the experience of being at Roots Tech, which is a huge genealogy event that's now happening every year in Salt Lake City. And there, if the course is ever running when there are other genealogy events that's happening that I happen to be at, I would do the same thing. But so far that hasn't actually happened. So, right. Well, I think that's largely it. So Gina is actually asking, can you just sign up for the postgraduate certificate? And so that's, can you just sign up for the first level of the master's program? And yes, you certainly can. If you go on to the webpage, the Apply webpage, what you'll see is a link to the part-time MSc, and that's the kind of 3-year part-time MSc. And what will happen is you'll sign up for the MSc program, but then you can just exit after the first year. And if you do that, then you will receive your postgraduate certificate. And that's a great thing to do. So, yeah. Let's see. So Donna's asking about what course I can study next. Enrolled in an archaeology course on FutureLearn. There's so many things up on FutureLearn. I always get the emails that come out every week and look through them. One actually that's fairly new, I think, I can't remember, it might have started this week or last week, is one on looking at the human genome, and our folks who are interested in genetic genealogy are taking that one. I think it's just a 2-week course, sort of looks at the human genome and the advancements that are happening with picking that apart and looking at those DNA things. But a couple of courses that I've taken, which I've found really interesting, both from a historical and an archaeological perspective, there's one on, there's a couple on World War I, a couple on recent Irish history, which I found quite useful, and then sort of stepping further back in time, which were less personally useful genealogically, were England at the time of Richard III, which was a great course. And also, I've just taken one through the University of Glasgow, which was about the history of dress and textiles, which was excellent. That's just finished. I think they've run that. That was the second time it's run, but you might look out for that one. It was beautifully done. They did it in collaboration with, I think it was the Royal Palaces. I think that's right. You might have a look out for that one and sign up for that one when it comes around. I can't remember the exact title of it, but it was a very good course. So any of those I would personally take again. But anything that has to do with looking at writing, communication, even I'm actually thinking more of the postgraduate stuff, but kind of looking at statistics and demographic patterns and things like that. All of these things that shape sort of human experience can be quite useful for the genealogist. But Yeah, so that's really all I had to say about coming along to study. Again, if you have any questions, please do look at our website or drop me a line. I'm happy to help answer questions. And yeah, just I hope you come and either come and do course through us or through one of the many other providers that's out there. The great thing about genealogy is there's always more to learn. Nobody knows everything, so it's an ongoing journey, learning more, which is very useful. So thanks so much for being with me.